Hi, it's me, Daphne. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you about the books I read in April. So I know this is a bit late. I'm filming this at the end of May-ish. So some of these books I'm not going to remember as well as others, but I wanted to make sure I got this out for you guys. So here we go. The first book I read in April was Blindside by Candy Steiner. This is the second book in her Red Zone series, I think it's called. It's like a new adult college football romance. So this particular one is a fake dating situation between Gianna and Clay. So Gianna is associated with the team because she works in like their PR department. She helps coordinate interviews with the media and things like that because this is like a D1 school. So the kids, like the football players, are on TV a lot. And then Clay, who is a defensive player, I think. I don't super remember. But Clay has been in a long-term relationship with his high school sweetheart. I think they're both sophomores in college at this point. He was doing a long-distance relationship with his girlfriend, but they've recently broken up. She basically said she doesn't want to be with him anymore, and he's heartbroken. However, she has just transferred to his school. So he's seeing her all the time now, and he wants to make her jealous. So he decides to bring in Gianna to fake date with him because he knows that she has a crush on this guy in a band, and he's like, hey, we could work together to attract the people that we really want and make them jealous. So that's the story. I ended up having a really fun time with this. It is quite steamy. I loved being on the field with them. Like if you really want to be like involved in the sports stuff, like you'll get a lot of sports content in this book as well. And yeah, it was cute because Gianna is also quite innocent, so you get that like sexual teacher kind of thing going on where like Clay is teaching her about pleasure and all this stuff. So fun time. I gave it 4 stars and I would definitely recommend. Next, I picked up The Undertaking of Hart and Mercy. This has been on my TBR for a minute. I got this as a recommendation from a booktuber, Lexi's Library, so I'm glad that I finally read it, and I had a fairly good time with this as well, but maybe in a different way than I expected. So this book is very heavy on the fantasy. There is romance in it, but it's not going to be like the steamiest thing you've ever read. And it really just plops you into this world. And I feel like I wanted to experience the world a little bit more than we got to. It's just like we're here, you know what I mean? So the premise of the story is that Hart is like some kind of ranger or like officer, and he goes off into this like realm that produces these zombie things. And when the zombie things, you know, creep out into the normal realm, he's supposed to take care of it, and he's like trying to like kill them off or whatever, Like he's like some kind of ranger. And Mercy, she works at her dad's undertaking business. She's kind of had to take more responsibility because her family is just like not up to it. Her dad's been sick, and her brother, who's supposed to take over, is not interested in the business. So they're interacting a lot because Hart brings these zombie dead things that he kills to Mercy's undertaking business. And they got off on the wrong foot. They don't really like each other, and they have this enemies to lovers experience. Hart is so lonely, he ends up writing a letter just to anyone, and he puts it into like a magical mailbox, and it ends up getting delivered to Mercy without him realizing it, and they become these pen pals. So if you like that kind of aspect, what is that called? Like epistolary? I don't know what it's called. But if you like letter writing and stuff, there's gonna be a ton in this as well. And honestly, this book was 4 stars for me, and it was mostly because of Hart. He literally broke my heart. He was the sweetest thing. Like, he is dealing with, you know, uncertainty in his mortality and like what it means to potentially be immortal, and he's just so lonely and closed off because the people he's cared about in his past, you know, things have happened to them. And he's the type of man that like is hard on the outside, but like can cry. And I absolutely loved him. So 4 stars for him for sure. Then I read Queen Sized by Jessica Kane. So she writes these really short, super smutty, fun time novellas. And this one was about like this competition where women can go to try to like prove their I don't know, like wifely capabilities to men so they can potentially get married. Our main character, Gwen, is desperate for a husband. She needs the income. She runs her own farm. Her parents are like passed, and she's taking care of her two younger sisters. So she really needs the financial support. So she goes into this competition. The king is there, and he sees her, and he is instantly drawn to her, and he's like, I need her to be my mistress. He doesn't really want to get married because, like, I don't know, his past or whatever. I mean, the book is so short, I can't tell you everything, but he's instantly drawn to her. She's like, I need a husband. I'm not here to be a mistress. And it's their little experience together and how they overcome their differences. And like, it's a steamy, fun time. It's very, very short. It's like under 100 pages probably. And I gave it 4 stars. All right, this next one is quite amusing. I was talking to my friend Hannah Blackwell, and she was going on the hardest Zodiac Academy binge around this time. And I was like, girl, what is going on? And she's like, you need to read these books. They are so addicting. And I was like, all right, for you, I will pick them up. They were not on my like TBR at all, but like, your love and enthusiasm for them is making me so excited. So I picked up the first book called The Awakening. So this story is about these two twins, Tori and Darcy, who live in the human realm. They don't know anything about the Fae realm at all, but they are down on their luck. They just turned 18. They've been in like foster care for a long time. Their parents like died in a fire or something. And they're like desperate for money. They're hard on their luck. This man just shows up and tells them, hey, you're Fae, I'm taking you to the Fae realm. You need to go to this academy. You guys are the heirs to the throne. And in order to receive your inheritance, you must graduate from this school. So they're like, what are you talking about? But when he takes them into that realm and plops them into like immediately being part of like this ritual where they discover their like powers are awakening and things like that, they're like, holy smokes, this is real. But they're like so uninterested in being royals. They do not care about that at all, but they do want to get their inheritance because they've been struggling. You know what I mean? So that's the premise of the story. There are these guys, these like 4 dudes that are like a year ahead of them, and they believe that they're the true heirs. Like these 4 guys want to be the true heirs because their families have taken over the throne when the original king and queen, you know, Tori and Darcy's real parents, got murdered. So they want to continue to be in line for the throne. So they're making Tori and Darcy's lives hell, literally torturing them, literally harassing them, just doing anything in their power to make their lives miserable so that they'll leave the academy so they won't be able to, like, take the throne, even though the girls have literally told them repeatedly, like, we don't want it, like, leave us alone, like, they don't care. And the Fae in this world are like so evil and cruel, and like their classmates are horrible, most of them, but it's like a polyamorous story too, so it's romance, and I just don't know who is gonna be like a good viable romantic interest because these boys are horrible. They're awful. Like, it would give you a little bit of hope and then they would just smash it, and it's just like the way that first book ended, I was so livid. I was like, I need these girls protected. But I will say, I do like the fact that these girls, you know, aren't just damsels in distress. Like, they are facing these challenges head on and they come out on top here and there. So seeing them stand up for themselves and occasionally be successful at it, and that just like is satisfying. You know what I mean? Where they can one up these asshole dudes. So I do plan to continue eventually. But I had a lot of reading plans in May, and I have a lot of reading plans that I have to figure out for June. So we'll see if I can squeeze in the second book. Plus they're really long books, so it takes a lot of time. And I gave this book 4 stars as well. Next, I read Breaking the Bully by Jessica Cain, another short novella by her. And this one was a really fun time. This is a story about 2 seniors in high school. They're both 18 by the time it gets to like anything steamy, which is always a relief with Jessica Cain. She's like toeing the line, but she's there. So this story is between Moore and Allie. Allie lives in a big, rich, large house with her father. Her mother is gone. Moore has been like in love with her since he first saw her, like freshman year or something. So he's kind of like obsessed with her, but he's from a lower class. He like lives in a trailer. He works in like a mechanic shop or something. I don't remember. But one night, they're like sophomore year, they have this kiss, this moment out in the rain. Oh no, is he a mechanic? He's like a handyman because he is on his way to like her house to like fix something. His dad hired him and she sees him and she's always been attracted to him as well. So they like have this moment and then her dad comes out and like yells at her to be like, get away from him, like he's trash. And she listens to him. So Moore takes that really badly. Due to things that Moore doesn't know, Allie never speaks to him again. So it's like 2 years later and she's never said a word to him. She just blatantly ignores him. He feels so rejected by her and he's so angry about it. He's like so obsessed with her, but like can't let that go. So he decides to bully her. He like brutally, not like violently, but he just like constantly berates her and torments her and like leaves her mean notes and shit for those 2 years. And then something becomes revealed to him on like why she was doing that and it changes everything. And it's their romance. I hope I explained that well enough. I mean, the story is so short that I don't want to tell too much, but I really, really enjoyed this one out of all the Jessica Cain ones I've read so far. I think it also steps away from some of her stereotypical kinks, which I liked. And I felt like for her writing, it was more on the realistic side for what you could expect from these young characters. So I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 5 stars. Is it like a masterpiece? Not necessarily, but did it deliver very well on what I expected? Definitely. So I thought it deserved 5 stars. Then I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Finally, I read this book. I was like so not interested in reading this at all until like a year ago. My mom told me she read it and that it was amazing. And I was like, is it? Like, I'll take your word for it. Like, this was not on my radar at all. Like, I was not interested even a little bit in the synopsis. But I took her word and I got it off Book of the Month for like a really good deal. And then I just let it sit on my shelf for a really long time. And then I finally decided to pick it up. And oh my God, I'm so glad I did. So this is a story obviously about Evelyn. She is a Hollywood starlet and it's her journey through Hollywood and the corruption of Hollywood and the queer phobia that went on during her time. And I just thought it was so beautiful. I just thought the writing was so amazing. There are so many like thoughtful lines in this book that I couldn't help but like annotate it. Like I needed to annotate this book. So this is a book I would definitely highly recommend. I don't want to talk too much necessarily about it because like so much happens, but it's a beautiful story. It's a love story. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a romance though, because it's definitely first a historical fiction and there are romantic elements in it. And it was just so heartbreaking. And I will say there are 2 timelines. It's like this reporter that's going to interview Evelyn for this book that Evelyn wants to have written. And then like obviously when you're back in the past in Evelyn's story. So there are things that tied these 2 characters together. And that reveal shocked me. It shocked me. So props to that. Let me know if you read this and if you were shocked by that connection, because I definitely was. I ended up giving this 5 stars, well deserved. I would definitely recommend it. Thank you, Mother, for recommending it to me. Then for my IRL book club here in my apartment building, the group wanted to read Emily's Encyclopedia of Faeries. Now, before I get into this, I know this book is really well loved. I particularly know that Eliza loves this book. And I feel really bad because I kind of hated it. I am so sorry. Everybody can love what they love. Hopefully you let me express to you like the fact that I did not like this book. So this is like a cozy fantasy romance between Emily and Wendell. Emily is like off in this like Nordic type country to research the Fae that live there for her encyclopedia. She's like making this huge book. She's traveled the world gathering information. She's very scientific. She's kind of cold as a person, not very good at connecting with people. and Wendell is her coworker, and he kind of just randomly shows up on her like expedition uninvited, and it's their romance. Now, the problem I had with this book is the way it was written. Like, the format that was chosen just did not work for me. This is written exclusively in Emily's like journal entries, and since she's such like a cold person, it was just really hard for me to connect at all. Like, she literally has problems connecting with people, and it reflected in me struggling to connect with her, you know what I mean? So in addition to that, because she's like cold and like struggles with that, it was hard to see any romantic connection. It was really hard to see any tension or angst or anything at all when it came to the romance. Like, when Wendell would, I mean, is this spoilery? Like, I don't know. Like, when Wendell basically told her straight up, like, yo, I got feelings for you, it just felt so out of nowhere. It was like hard for me to believe, because I'm like, I don't see any pining at all, because it's all from Emily's perspective and she's like clueless. This, like, the story in its bare bones had potential for me, but the way it was executed just did not work at all. Plus, I gotta admit, I did not have this book on my TBR even a little bit. I was not interested at all. Like, I saw the cover, I thought it was pretty, but like when people would talk about it, I was like, oh, I'm not interested. Just like even the title feels cold and distant to me. So I was like, that doesn't sound like it's for me. But I missed the book club meeting because I was ill when they decided to pick this book. So I didn't have any say on it, you know what I mean? So we read it, I forced my way through it. I honestly skimmed probably the last like 35% of the book, because I was just like, I just want to be done. I just want to be done. And I think it would work for people who are really interested in like folklore and fae and like just that aspect of like what Emily's interested in. If like you're interested in that like storytelling and like the myths and stuff, like, yeah, it could be cool. But like, I don't really care. I'm here for the romance, and the romance was like the weakest point of the story. I ended up giving it 2 stars. I'm so sorry, but I gotta be true to myself. I feel bad because I never wanted to give it 2 stars because I didn't want to pick it up in the first place. Yeah, I feel bad, but it is what it is. I'm sorry. Let me know if you feel similar to me about it, or if you totally disagree with me. That's fine. And then the last book I read in April was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I actually listened to the audiobook. I finally got it out at my library. The wait was like super long, and this was so eye-opening, and it just like made me understand Jeanette so much better, and it made me feel a little guilty that, you know, a show that I love so much, and, you know, I loved the character Sam, to like find out what was going on in the background on set and with her mother and the struggles Jeanette was going through. And I just also remember feeling like when the Sam and Cat thing came out, I was like, this feels really weird. And then like Jeanette just like disappeared. You know what I mean? I was like, where did she go? And then the iCarly reboot happened and she didn't want to be a part of it. And I was like, why? That was like such a fun show. Like, why are you you know, I felt like I had judgments on her, but that wasn't fair because I literally had no context and any clue what she was going through. So she talks about her life with her mother and how much pressure her mother put on her to be an actress, and how her mother pretty much taught her how to be anorexic and how she became bulimic over time, and how there was a lot of like weird, inappropriate advances going on with like men in the industry when she was a young girl or a young teenager, her struggles with substance abuse. It was just very eye-opening. And when she says she's glad her mom is dead, like, she loved her mom. Her mom was her entire world for so long that she couldn't see that her mom was hurting her. So this isn't like a malicious statement. It's just that, you know, she's free from the chains her mother kind of put around her because she loved her mother so much. So I would definitely recommend this book. I gave it 5 stars. It's nonfiction. I know some people don't like rating nonfiction. The writing style is very like short to the point. And also it's kind of told in a way as if like it's in the present. You know what I mean? So it's written in present tense, which at first took me a little while to get used to, because she's like, you know, saying I'm 11 or I'm 7, and the chapter is all written in present tense. So that was like a little jarring at first for me to get used to, but it doesn't matter. Like, her story needed to be told, and I'm glad I got to hear about it, and I'm glad that she was open to sharing it, and I gave it 5 stars. And then the last thing I want to quickly mention, I did put this on a TBR in the past, but I've officially decided to DNF it, and that's The Union by Lee Vernon. It's like a YA, sci-fi, weird, racial, dystopian thing that I really wanted to give a try because I got it for free on Amazon's First Reads. I've been trying to read it for a couple months, but like I just literally don't care about it. And I would be like forcing myself to read it. So I'm taking the advice of a couple of booktube friends and just DNFing it. Like there's no point for me to force myself to read a book when there are so many books that I actually want to read. So that's done. I decided that in April. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already. Obviously, it really helps my channel and I would greatly appreciate it. And I will see you in another video. Bye.